Bumthang is located in central Bhutan. It is a place visited by many enlightened figures in the past spreading the Dharma. 7th century, the Tibetan king Songtsen Gompo built Champal Hakang in Bumthang, one of the 108 temples he built in one day through sheer miraculous power. This was followed by the visit of Guru Rinpoche in the 8th century, spreading the Vajrayana teachings. In the 17th century, Bhutan was unified under the authority of Belin Drukpa. The valley of Bumthang then, under the command of Jakar Yuli Namgyalzong, consisted of 4 village blocks, namely Chumi, Chokor, Dang and Ura. The Chokor block consists of upper, middle and lower valleys. The middle valley is site to one of the holiest places of Guru Rinpoche, the Gurje. East of it, on a ridge, is where the Padtselling Jangchop Pelri Monastery is situated, similar to the second abode of Guru Rinpoche, Ngaya Pelri. The highly accomplished master of Bhutan took a vow before the Lhasa Jo to recite Phakpa Sampochitpi Melam 1 billion times for the welfare of all sentient beings. At the time, the statue of Jo spoke thus: "Son, don't be very ambitious. Go instead to the south. East of Kurjil Hakang is a place. Make it your monastic seat. You will fulfill your dreams. Name it Jangchop Pelri." The seat that was prophesied by Lhasa Jo is located in the east of Kurjil Hakang and has all the qualities of good hermitage. The ridge bears the shape of the seated Zambala, on whose hands rests Jangchop Pelri like heaps. Since the place is home to several kinds of flowers, especially the Dongdola blossoms in both summer and winter, it is widely known as Padtselling. After the monastery was established, it was named Jangchop Pelri as advised by Lhasa Jo. But people prefer to call it by its own name, Padtselling Gonpa. The Druptop successive reincarnations are known as Padtselling Truelkus. Below the monastery, towards the south, are 2 springs revealed by Druptop himself, Pochu and Mochu. Anyone can cleanse their obscuration by taking a shower or drinking from the spring. It is also known to ward off unfortunate events. Towards the east of the monastery is a boulder. It is said that when Namgyal Hendruk came to look for a monastic seat, a Tomin, a female water spirit, tried to stop him. Top transformed the Tomin into the boulder. To the north of the monastery is another rock bearing the image of a Dakini's breast. Behind the ridge is a cave where Druptok once lived and meditated after he was driven away by the Jakar Zongpon from the site of the present monastery. To the west of the monastery is a self-emanated couch shell on a rock and the palace of a local deity, Nyedak Marpo Gomchen. All of these are collectively known as the sacred sites in 4 directions. A little away from the monastery are rocks bearing images of a tiger and a leopard, the spirits of local guardians who had welcomed the Druptop by transforming themselves into tiger and leopard when he was on his way from Takarjong. The Druptop transformed them into rocks for the faithful lot in future. The emanation of Pelchen Doji Jono, the embodiment of all the past Buddhas, and the one who appeared in Bhutan in person, Namgyal Hindu, was born at Chapcha Rimtangkhar, Thimphu, in 1718, Earth Dog year of the second Rabjung. From a very age, he went to live with J. Namgyal Trukpa at Chamdra Gom and was given the name Namgyal Hindu. There he got his early education from reading and writing to empowerment and initiation. In 1748, his master J. Trukpa passed away. After completing all necessary, he went to Barot Taktang and meditated on Purpayang Salama, a textured text of Ratna Lingpa. As a sign of his accomplishment, his tutelary deity, Doji Jono, appeared in person and blessed him, became Drupt accomplished master. While at Taktang, he also discovered several hidden treasures, a self-created ritual cake of stone, a sacred ball and a skull, all of which is still seen at Padtselling Monastery. The ritual dagger he used in subduing demons and a zombie was made from rice, served as a snack, jetsam, with tea at Taktang. At the time, he visualized the tutelary deity, Doji Jono, and consecrated it when the dagger became real. The material from which the dagger was made is not known even today. On attaining the age of 32, the master left on pilgrimage to Tibet to see the Zhou. There he had settled down to reside, sanctuary 1 billion times. But not very long after, in 1750, a deadly spirit had possessed the corpse of Shapet Doring, Pandita Gompo, Niruproptan's principal minister. All tantric masters and their remedies proved futile. Frightened, no tantric masters could dare to go near the corpse. 2 weeks later, they heard about a Bhutanese master praying at the feet of Jo, to whom they requested for help. Top transformed himself into real Pelchen Doji Jono, and with deep compassionate heart, hit the zombie with his ritual, driving away the evil spirit. Then on, he was known far as a Bhutanese spiritual master who could subdue zombies. After completing the recitation of Pakpa Zangpa Chitpi Milam for 1 billion times before the Jo, he made a wish that in future, Chimbo itself across the world. He also aspired to start one in Bhutan. To this day, people believe the widespread of Melam Chenpo is the outcome of his wish. He then returned to Bhutan following his prophecy. While returning to Bhutan, Shapit Doring offered many gifts to him, but he accepted only what was necessary for the journey. When Shapit Doring insisted on accepting something for his personal satisfaction, the Druptop remembered the prophecy and asked for his religious scroll, that is Tongdril, of an 11-headed Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha and Guru Rinpoche, all painted by the Trisong Detsen. The Tongdril is still seen at Padtselling and forms the inner relic of the monastery. On his way from Lhasa, he visited and meditated at the Yangzong, Amye Chimpu, Sari and other sacred places of Guru Rinpoche. On arrival of Shungkar Hading, he met Ugen Drime Lingpa, the great treasure discoverer, who is no different from Guru Rinpoche. On seeing Namgyal Hindrup, Drime Lingpa immediately recollected the following verse from Drime Lingpa Dangnang Lamma Thugi Nyingpo Chokdak Lungten. As many as 25 future teachers bearing the names Gelek Tupten Hindrup Hin, Ugen, etc. will appear in Yutang, Dakpo, Kongpo, Nilor, Mon in Upper and Lower Dokam and Hodrak by force of their karmic connections. May the sublime teachings be passed on to them. By so doing, will pacify all obstacles and hindrance in their mission. Similarly, the following prophecy is mentioned in the Chimidoji, which was discovered at Yangzong. By destiny, a hot son of mine, Guru Rinpoche, will be born in the Yutang, Drakpo, Gongpo, Kam, or Mon by the name Hindrup. Rigsen Drime Lingpa recognized Namgyal Hindrup as the man prophesied in the sacred scriptures of Guru Rinpoche for spreading the treasured teachings in future, and took on the responsibility to give empowerments, transmissions, and instructions on all treasured teachings. Techo Tukdrup Yunten Kinjung, Gurdra, Sedrup Doji Sokdrup, Tuji Chimpo Korwa Jigdril, and others. On his part, Namgyal Hendrup too made great efforts to practice the teachings. Combined with the past destiny, he was able to visualize various tutelary deities within a short period of time that signified his accomplishment. After receiving other secret teachings, he took leave of Drimilingpa and, as prophesied by Hasajo, went to Bumthang. On the way, he visited one of Guru Rinpoche's sacred places, the Singezong at Lindsay. After spending a few days there, he cut journey and finally arrived at Bumthang Kurje. While at Kurje, the people of Senghor pleaded him to get a dreaded devil residing at Chutigal. The devil appeared even during the day and stole people's soul. That's life force. All relatives were helpless. After hearing about the people's suffering, he went to Senghor and meditated at Chutigal for 3 days and subdued the devil. While traveling from Senghor to Saling, the people of Saling requested him to subdue a devil that was terrorizing people, also taking the life of Ura Dungnakpo, ruler of Ura. He subdued the Saling devil and built 4 chotans in 4 directions, and a 5th one in the center of deterrence against future devils, where power spread far and wide. At about the same time, they lived close to Zhongerzong, deadly demon, Goling Tendi, which no spiritual masters could see. The younger Zongpen Becker sent a request to the master for help, to which the master consented. On arrival at the place, he pitched a tent on top of the cliff, believed to be the Sidatal of Goling Tendi, and conferred him the oath not to harm people anymore. After the subjugation of the younger demon, Druptop offered the Zongpen to cast a number of ritual daggers, purple, in accordance to the prophecy. Accordingly, the Zongpen became the sponsor of the Purbas, casted under the guidance of the master himself. The collection can be seen at Padtselling Monastery as a sacred relic. Prior to casting the ritual daggers, 2 extra daggers that were casted as samples flew away. One flew over to Mangdi Trela, and the other to Bukja as a detente to a demon residing on the cliff. There was again another demon residing at Shongor Limitang near Shongor. The demon used to take lives of travelers who tried to cross a particular bridge. Here, no sooner did he arrive than the devil ran away and hid inside a rock on the face of a cliff below a chorten near the present-day motor road at Limitang. The demon was subdued. Bridge was expanded and named Druptop Bridge in honor of the master. Not long after he went to look for the site prophesied Joe, he intended to settle at the present-day Takorshong, assuming that it must be the site as it is situated to the east of Kurje. There, local guardians of Padtselling welcomed him at Takorshong and informed him that it was further uphill. Climbing uphill towards the present-day Padtselling, the Druptop felt thirsty. There was no nearby water source, so he took out 2 springs, a male and a female, and blessed them. After reaching the south of the present-day monastery, the Druptop proceeded to lay the foundation of the monastery, but a water spirit dwelling in the nearby forest tried to harm the crew. The Druptop overpowered her and turned her into a rock. Soon after, a terrible disease started affecting the Jakurzong, and the horses started dying one after another. The then governor asked for Druptops. The master performed a gektor, a ritual to evict negative elements, and all the horse recovered. It is said that the whole of Bumthang never experienced the disease from that day on. Impressed by the Druptop's spiritual power, the governor apologized for his misdeeds in the past and offered his grazing land to build a monastery. At around the same time, the Zhongo chieftain Becker was promoted as the governor of Trongsa. With his support, the people of Bumthang offered labor and the Padtselling monastery was built in the year 1769. Namgyal Hendrup heard about a famous Rigzin Jamil Lingpa and went to see him in Tibet. There he received Longchen Nyektik and many other teachings from Rigzin Jamil Lingpa. Drukpa Kaju was the only traditionally practiced in Bhutan. He requested for permission to introduce Longchen Nyektik Yapka Yumka, a way of performing rituals in Drukpa Kaju tones, and was duly granted the permission. On his way back from Tibet, he visited his teacher Drima Lingpa and received teachings from him. At Semi, he was approached for help as the officiating ruler and regent of Tibet. Tempe Gumbo was possessed by an evil spirit, Dogyung. All remedies and famous meditations and masters of Tibet had failed to cure the regent. They requested Druptup for help, who by his spiritual power successfully expelled the spirit and restored the regent back to his health. The fame of Druptup Namgyal Hendrup as one who subdued zombies and devils spread everywhere. He was also responsible for subduing the dreaded evil in Mangdi Drengeji Valley and wiping out the Lungti Wenkel evil effects and others from every corner of the country. Nurbu Becker, his student, once invited him to Nurbulik, Tungsam, where Atisonam Darji was holding a religious teaching. During the time, Bhutan and British India were fighting a war at Pasaka. Bhutan was under the rule of the 16th Desi Sonam Hendrup. Dongsam Jadrung and the Assam Raja were also at loggerheads over their in the east part of Bhutan, causing immense sufferings to the people. After Dongsam Jadrung sought the Druptup's help, the latter went to Yongla Gompa in Pemagatsal. There he flung a ritual cake in the direction of the enemies. Which ultimately brought victory to the Dongsam Jadrung. His fame spread even more. The Drup returned to Bumthang and ensured the offerings he received from his devotees didn't go wasted. He organized Mane, Vajraguru, Purba recitation for his followers. He spent the rest of the time teaching his students. In the meanwhile, Jigme Kondrol was instructed by Jimmy Lingpa to visit Yongla Gomba in Mon. After realizing that it was difficult to find the place prophesied by Jimmy Lingpa, he went to see Druptup Namgyal Hendrup, from whom he received many teachings. Not long after, Nurbu Becker from Nurbuling Dungsam, who was a devotee of Druptup Namgyal Hendrup, sent a request to conduct a Dutsi Mendrup ceremony at Dungsam. The Druptup was quite old to undertake a long journey, so he Jimmy Kondrol and conferred on him the post of Yongla Lama for the people and the Buddha Dharma. Jimmy Kondrol founded the Dungsam Yongla Tengi River Pelbaling Monastery for the purpose. Not long after the embodiment of Pelchen Doji Shono, Druptup Namgyal Hendrup died peacefully at the age of 69 in 1786, corresponding to the 20th day of the 4th month of Fire Horse year. Prayers of the quick rebirth were made, and the scale of the rituals is believed to have touched heaven. Rainbows shone in the sky and the rainflower showered on earth. The very air around the place was filled with fragrance. When the attendants opened the funeral chamber, they found many body relics. The unquestionable reincarnation of Druptup Namgyal Hendrup, the second Padtselling Trickle, Jimmy Tempe Gyaltsen, was born in 1788, corresponding to the Earth Monkey year of the 13th Rabjung at Trela in Mangdi. Many auspicious signs accompanied his birth, such as the appearance of 2 suns and the turning of water into milky color for 3 consecutive days. At 5, he started to recall clearly his past life. His former attendants took him to Jangchup Pelri and enthroned him as the second Padtselling Trickle, where he took lessons from the former master's 2 main students, Namgyal and Shacha. At 9, following the orders of Rigzin Jimmy Lingpa, he went to study under Jimmy Kondrol at Yongla Gomba in eastern Bhutan. There he received all teachings of his former incarnation, Longchen Nyente, Jimmy Lingpe Tercho, Ratpur, etc. At 11, he went to study under Rigzin Jimmy Lingpa in Tibet, but soon Rigzin Jimmy Lingpa passed away. He received a statue containing his great master's relic as a consolation. He then went to Mindroling, where he spent 5 years studying the 13 major philosophies according to the Nyingma tradition, as well in Sesum and ultimately earning the title of Homen Geshe. To mark his graduation, he went on pilgrimage to visit the Lhasa Jo, Sami and other sects to Padmasambhava. He then returned to Bumthang, Bhutan at 19. 1808, he requested the 25th Desi of Bhutan for a special approval of government to take over the charge of Padtselling and to continue the traditional and lineage of his former incarnations. The Desi granted his request and posed him with a sambal as a gift. In 1809, he expanded the old monastery by adding additional floor, a new temple, and on the right and left side of the structure. After its consecration, he entered into a 3-year retreat and is said to have experienced a number of important visions, such as the 3 Rood and Ritsuningpa. At the age of 25, after completing his retreat, he returned to Tibet. There, he received complete ordination vows from Miling Kinchin Kundin, from Miling Trichin Pema Wangil, Terchin Garwang Tenzin Gyalpo, and the 6th Halung Sungchal Kunzang Tempe Gyalsan. He received many empowerments, transmission, instruction, and advices. Once again, he made offerings to the Lhasa Jo and the monks of Mindroling and returned to Bumthang. Not long after, Jimmy Kondrol of Yongla Monastery passed away, and so Jimmy Tempe Gyaltsen went to Dungsang. He stayed there for a long time and performed the funeral rites, taught the regent Doji Gyaltsen, and provided teachings and blessings to the patrons in the village. On his return to Bumthang, he continued to teach his followers. As requested by his patrons and devotees, he built the Nupchuti Trela Zilin Gemba, Funsupelril Hakang, Muktse Nekang, Dungsam Kangmi Hakang, and Sengor Hakang. Similarly, invited by his patrons, he visited Bumthang, Mangdi, Trashigang, Shongar, Linsi, and Rang, where he gave empowerments, transmissions, instructions, and performed services for subduing evil spirits. He stopped animal sacrifices Marcho wherever he went. He stopped animal sacrifices wherever he went, whereby the lives of many animals were saved. Around this time, there was internal strife in the country. The Kut was burned down, making traveling difficult for people. Touched by the people's pledge, he constructed a new bridge, contributing both in labor and material. The demon residing below the bridge, harming people and animals, was also subdued. In 1844, on the request of the Trashigang Zongpin, Choje Ugan, he gave teachings and initiations to the local people. Recollecting the words of Jimmy Kondrol, who expressed a desire to cast the ritual dagger for himself, he made the Zongpin cast them in exactly the way as those housed at Padtselling. These ritual daggers were in turn offered to Doji Jamtso, a second abode of Dungsam Yongla Monastery. From there, he was invited to Dungsam, a journey he undertook a choten at Yurong. From Yurong, he was invited by Gufu Choje and the public of Trashigang Uzurong to subdue the evil dwelling there. There, he saw the construction of Choten Jarung Kashor with the support of Gufu Choje and the public. He consecrated it for the collective merit of the people and deterrence of evil force. Then on, he stayed at his monastic seat in Bumthang Padtselling, teaching his disciples and imparting initiations to the patrons, simultaneously building a Jangchuk Choten or stupa of enlightenment. During this time, he also wrote a biography of the former master, recording the initiations and oral transmission he had received from various teachers. The writing of Tuji Chempo Korwa Jigdril Wangchu, Jinsei, and Nyenik were also compiled by him during this period. Knowing that he was not going to live much longer, he appointed his student, Lama Kunzang Dichin, as a regent. Many of his students were great Buddhist masters and Truelkus, including Halung Tukse. Among his patrons were Druk Desi, Chongsachila, and other governors from Trashigang in the east to Wangtefodrang in the west. In 1850, he invited Jangchup Sundu to his monastery, and the two made prayers to meet in future again. Then not long after, he passed away on the 4th day, 5th month of the Iron Dog year of the 14th Rabjung. Having lived a life for the well-being of all the sentient beings, he died at the age of 63. Jabgin Jangchup Zunru presided over the funeral rites. 8 auspicious signs in the shapes of swastika and many other significant signs were seen in the sky during the funeral. The third Padtselling Triku, Jodan Doji, was born in 1853, Water Ox year of the 14th Rabjung. His family belonged to the Jakar Dung nobility, descending from both Pema Lingpa and Halung Pelki Doji. He was able to recollect his past life at a very early age and was taken to his monastic seat, pursued his education under Lam Kunzang Dichin, the regent, and other lamas who were disciples of the previous incarnation. He received empowerments, transmissions, and instruction center to his lineage, such as the treasure teachings of Drime Lingpa, Longchen Nitik, Beling Chokor, and Ratpur, the Purva teachings of Ratna Lingpa. Having completed his education in all related fields, he continued to carry out the religious activities from his former life. Choying Rangdul became Jimmy Jordan Doji's main disciple. After completing his education and following his root Lama's prophecy, Choying Rangdul established Gompa Karpo at Lhinsi, a replica of Padtselling Gumba, and instituted the religious tradition of Drime Lingpa, known as Doji Sokdrup, which is followed to this day. Unlike his former masters, Triku Jodan Doji had a consort and 2 children. However, he did not live long and died suddenly at the age of 30 at Tang Gamling in 1883. The fourth Padtselling Triku, Kunzang Tile Namgyal, was born to Drigel Zongpen Cheju Tile from Langtar Gipser Monastery in Trongsa and Taksi Chejin Gelmo in 1892, corresponding to the Water Dragon year of the 15th Rabjung at Paro Drugel Zong. He started recollecting his past life at the age of 5 and was taken to his monastic seat at Padtselling. He was enrolled the 4th incarnation by Droling Triku, Rigsen Kamsum Yangdrol, and was given the name Kunzang Nyeden Tenzin Chogel. Beginning with reading and writing, he learned all ritual traditions of former master, followed closely by studying of grammar and Buddhist philosophy under Geshe Mindu and Chulchum. Similarly, seizing the opportunity of visit made by Karmapa Khachap Dorji, Togdin Shacha Shui, Rigsen Kamsum Yangdrol, Terton Zilnin Namkha Dorji, Serkang Dorji Chang, Ngawang Chulchum Droden, Zigar Chokchul, Doring Tiku, Dzogchen Kempo, Tobden Nyendra, and so on to Bumtang. He received oral transmissions and initiations from them relating to both Kaju and Nyingma traditions. Further, he received secret teachings including Longchen Nyingte, the treasure teachings of Drime Lingpa, and the Vajrakilaya treasure tradition of Ratna Lingpa from Bayo Rinpoche, Kushu Tinle, and Chung Triku. He took lay ordination for Wung Triku. He also received instructions on Peling Chokor from the 9th Peling Sungtrul Tenzin Chogil. After completing his education, he observed meditation for a very long period. He continued the work of his predecessors, teaching and helping the sentient beings and being devoted to the spiritual welfare of the patrons in Bumtang, Mangdi, King, and Zhongar. During the time the devil lived on Namkar Bridge was harming people, the 4th Padtselling Triku was requested for help and he subdued the devil. The footprint of his riding horse on a rock near the river and below the bridge is testimony to it. Kunzang Tile Namgyal spent most of the time at his monastery overseeing the management of place and performing rituals for the welfare of all sentient beings. Much of his time was also spent at the monastery teaching disciples. In 1959, at the age of 66, corresponding to Firebird year of the 16th Rabjung, he was in his deathbed when his disciple and patrons requested him to live longer. He refused. Alternatively, they requested him to be reborn fast for the benefit of all sentient beings. To this, the master said, if he were to born into a wealthy family, he would not be able to benefit the poor and ordinary people. So he promised to be reborn into a humble family and asked them to meet him there. The 5th Padtselling Tiku, Pemogzin Jamso, in keeping with his promise, was born in 1960, corresponding to 15th day, 4th month of the Iron Rat year, and in 16th Rabjung at Bumtang, Tang Namkhil Hakang, to Benzabi Cheja Tinle and Jamil Hamu. Soon after he began to speak as a child, he uttered the name of his predecessor, Kunzang Tinle Namgyal, and claimed to be his reincarnation. He also proclaimed Jangchup Belri to be his seat and incested there. The child was referred to the 16 Karmapa Rangjung Rikpe Doji to confirm the reincarnation of Padtselling. After the Karmapa's confirmation, the child was accorded a formal recognition and given the name of Karma Chukki Gyaltsen. He was taken to the monastery at the age of 5, where Jirmi Tekchuk Tempe Gyaltsen, the 10th hot son of Pema Lingpa, enthroned him and named him Pema Kunsang Tenzin Jamso. While on his way to the monastery, former patrons and followers came out in droves to welcome him with offerings. They shed tears of happiness as he was able to name all the people who had gathered to welcome him. When the convoy arrived at Bathala, 2 dark-looking men were seen presenting themselves before him. Even earlier in the morning of the day, footsteps of invisible beings entering and exiting the doors were heard, an indication of protecting deities preparing to welcome the child. Once there at the monastic seat, the child embarked on his re-education. From learning to read and write, he was trained in the arts of ritual practices and according to his lineage. In the year 1970, when he was 10 years old, he went to Punakha, the seat of the central monastic body, to present his first haircut to Nyenzer Choktrul Rinpoche, the 67 Jekempo Bhutan and reincarnation of Ngakchang Wukpa Lingpa. Ceremony, he was given a third name. Then this was the beginning of his life in the central monastic body. Ordinary monk, he started his education sweeping the floors of the monastery to learning the art of ritual and other practices under strict monastic disciplines. When he was 15, he joined the Tango Buddhist College, the meditation place of Pajodrugum Shipo, which was then headed by Geshe Gedin Rinchen, the 69 Jekempo Bhutan, and the reincarnation of Debdern Sogel. During his 7-year stay at Tango, he studied Daik Sumtak, Shungchen Chusum, Drukpa Kaju tradition of ritual practices, and received many other teachings from Geshe Gedin Rinchen. Around the same time, he received the vows of a Novik monk from His Holiness Tenzin Donjup, the principal of Tango Meditation Center, who later on became the 60th Khenpo of Bhutan, and the vows of full-fledged monk at the age of 25. He also received the teachings of initiation on Kaju Gyunmang, including Yugdam Jigje, Purba, Jagmar, and Gurdra Mindro. In his quest for further learning, he sought after many highly learned spiritual masters of the time, which included Rinpoche Doji, from whom he received teachings in Nyingthig Gyaltsen, and the 16 Karmapa Rikpe Doji, who imparted him with oral transmission of Thuji Chenpo Doden Kachap. They conferred on him love empowerment, and Lama Gyalwang Nyima gave him oral transmission in taking refuge in 3 jewels, money and Vajra Guru. From the highly accomplished Bhutanese Buddhist master, Tangkhalöpen Norbuangchuk, he studied astrology while he received empowerment and initiation on Kilchuk Doji Trengwa and Nodrup Kamsum of Drimi Lingpa from Lam Sonam Zangpo. Later, Khyentse Doji Chang Jukchen Tempe Gyaltsen became his root lama. He frequently visited his root lama and received teachings on Nyingma Katir Danang, teachings of former masters, the Drimit Lingpa lineage, which included Sil Doji Sokdrup and Ratpur initiations and empowerment until his death. His included instructions on Nyingthig Gyaltsen, Kajur Jalung, Longchen Zeddun, Nyingma Gyubum, practice of Tsalung Rigzen Trulkor, Khyentse Gongter, initiation and instruction on Drala Geser Tatub Garpo, commentary on Ngondro and Gongter of Jabji Rinpoche, and all Damnga. The 4th Dodrup Chen, Jimmy Thupten Pelzang, gave him complete teaching on Rin Terzut and Nyingthig Gyaltsen, while Trilging Rinpoche gave him collective empowerment on Drimi Lingpa's Tepakmi, Nodrup Kamsum, and Kandramasinge Dongchen. Nyeshel Ken Rinpoche gave him oral instructions and commentaries on Damnga Tiksum Nyedak, and Khenpo Dazer gave him transmission and initiations on Karma Chakme Dichen Jindrup. Chabji Beru Tiku gave him oral transmission in taking refuge of the mind, money, Vajra Guru, and Katang Dutpa, while Chabji Drubong Pema Nurbu gave him transmission and empowerment on teaching of Mepham Drala Sokde, including complete teachings enshrined in Sildip Lidinma of Nyingthig Gyaltsen. Triko Rigzen Pema Namgyal also gave him oral transmission on Mepham Sungbum, Jungchen's, while Talung Tsatru Rinpoche gave him oral transmission and Rinchen Terzot. He received blessings, oral instruction, and commentaries from many eminent luminaries. From Dilgo Khense Doji Chang, he received the teachings and initiation of Yidam Lakpal Hachuk, Belchen Doji Jono, Gonpo Tsepami and Tuji Chempo. Mandalas of each of these deities manifested themselves and revealed great signs of accomplishment. Later, he meditated on them. Though the offering of meat during regional villages around the country had stopped, some villages resumed over time. In order to stop this, he requested the concerned households, who immediately called a stop to their practice. At the age of 26, he resigned from the central monastic body and returned to his monastery in Bumthang. On arrival, he found the elderly folks were too old, while lay practitioners found no time to attend to the monastery, having to participate in development works of the country. The monastery was in very poor state. Owing to changing times and the delay in his taking over the affairs of monastery, he faced many difficulties in restoring the monastery to its original. After much difficulty and with blessings from the fourth Truelkus, he eventually managed to carry on with his dream in restoring the monastery to its original form. A lay practitioners' institute was restarted in 1991, 5 Gomchins. In 2005, the Gomde was upgraded to a monastic college, and monks are now in a position to join monastic schools and meditation centers. During the time of former master, the monastery used to conduct several religious activities. However, with the passage of time, the ritual had lost its importance and were conducted for a few days and also not to its full length. The fourth king had then learned of the power associated with Purba, collections at the monastery, and of the when found master Truelkus Namgyal Hendrik performed Purbetorder ritual that repulsed the attacking and external army. The king had realized that there is no other power greater than the Pelchen Doji Jono in deterring future wars and overcoming external, internal and hidden misfortunes. The fourth king commanded the Padtselling to be performed annually and provided necessary funds. Also corresponding to the death anniversary of Truelkus Namgyal Hendrik, an annual Pelchono is performed on the 4th month of every year. In order to reinstitute the Purbi Drupchen on an annual basis, the 4th Dodrup Jimmy Thupten Pelzang, a student of Rigzan Jimmy Lingpa, was invited to preside over the first Drupchen ceremony. Then on, the annual Padtselling Drupchen has been taking place every year for the welfare of the people and the country, a tradition made possible by the blessing of the fourth king. Presently, the Tiku is engaged in managing monastic affairs and looking after the welfare of the monks in continuation to the past masters. As a saying, all that your eyes can see are the patrons of the Gangte Triku. All that your ears can hear are the patrons of Padtselling Triku. He has the obligation to fulfill the spiritual needs of his followers from Wangdi Phodrang in the west to Trashigang in the east, including the people of Trongsa, Bumthang, Shemgar, Mongar, Pemagatsal and Hinsi. There is also a demand of the present time. Among them is traveling abroad to spread the words of Dharma to people with shared destiny. Apart from conducting drill Chogluwang Gongjin, Chinwa Jigdru, Purbi Jinpur, and prayers in propitiation of Dharma protectors, the monastery has also to observe Yarngu and Marngo Tsechu each month. Further, it has to conduct Sambala Nodrup Kamsum Wangdi for 3 days, Namge Tongche for 1 day, Gudrak for 3 days, Drill for and Chimi Longsil Doji Sokdrup for 3 days. On the 4th month of the Bhutanese calendar every year, a 9-day Drupchen and 3-day Kuche are performed, and on the 8th month of the Bhutanese calendar, a 7-day Magin Yuldo, recitation of the whole set of Kajur, 3-day Kaling Shetro and the summer retreat prayer ceremony for a month for the welfare of sentient beings and the flourishing of Buddha Dharma is conducted. On the 4th month of every Bhutanese calendar, a 3-day Kuche to commemorate the death anniversary of the founder of the monastery is. The first 2 days include the performance of ritual together with the unfurling of 3 kinds of thongdra for public viewing and life-lengthening blessings. The last day is dedicated for conferring Purbi Wang blessings to the public. The monastery also performs a 7-day-long Magen Yuldog, Mantra Protector Ikazati and Doji Drakmo Dochuk in the 8th month of every year for the good of all when Li, carrying all negatives of His Majesty the King and the head of the monastery, are thrown. During this ritual, it is the tradition for the patrons of the Padtselling Triku from as far as 7 to 10 days journey to gather at the monastery to seek blessings and visit the Triku. This tradition is still alive in the monastery for the welfare of all sentient beings and to flourish the Buddha Dharma. Today, the 5th Padtselling Triku is 55 years of age. May he live 100 years for the welfare of all the sentient beings, and may he be able to fulfill all his noble objectives.
나치기 두톱 남게 흰죽 해서 저 림부치 꾼든도 상점에는 붐뜬데 할람 주튼을 렘달로 님지 배우달로 저 림부치기 송준데 부추기 댄사데 하면 라마라도 지득베 구루 꾸치기 샤 카톨로 감 민두 참에기 태갈로 좀내 숭데 댄사자 바진 로든 공레 공도 평세 댄시 미야 장수 페리세 따세 롱덴 데베 나노 스쇼니 데베 올레덴 디기베 주톱기 롱덴 데다 티디기베 댄사자 나노 스쇼니 다감 민두 차위기 테카세미디 기 뉴딘디가 데베디 모서와진 감 민두 세미디 나셔르기 지기 룩레 주거르니 슈탑게세 지니유 데 디기데레 앙니버디 감 민두이 데로 아다라 죽다 주발로 민두다와 슬라비 데 랍고미디 다우주비기 체직레 고뚝디기베 감 민두디 남속지 샤기 리굴레 샤심들레 남남지 누기리 잡도 주인 스슈니 데 디베네디기 다우주바기 남츠디 감 민두기 소미 데 당아치라 다우주베날로 붐더 규제 하가 기자와 조심들레 남소업지 카샤카도 따오르지 베바진 감민두디 다도 페슬링 겸바 착데 유미기 리텔레츠 차도 유블레 데 덴사기 산네디 테서 조 림부치기 감르기 테칼루세 룽덴 소미디다 틱틱베 티수베 유스슈니
주속디테로 닌 고래 마치기 파미기 원래 됐다 견진면 거기 다 침디디 염선 대침이시 중코디 다 봐해 아피인세 개념을래 같이 폼디수기 텔말 rumbal로 안내베 셰비멜라
스테나마 당아자니 데 파미기 갑로 대가치 중고집에도 그 남들로 대안알로 데 요거를 들량아치 아니나로 오나로 대가치기 데 모카데비나 추디데 야르마이 추임데노 대가치 마실라 추디로 짐미바라 데 오코 키푼을 틴베 유라 텔라네레 갑칠레 텔레트로마자 데 티날레기 데 텔레 아니나로 데 침디 아시 마투베 텔레트로 날와 파 보일라 파포베시나 드루르로 장추지기 잡레 데트루피나이 오코 키푼을 추틴베르 다니 테시나 트로피나 이데안베 주기디디 당아제게 가도베데미 시베데 주디 데 능기 추이나 가지고 하코마섭데 드루로 디넬레 때가 자 충수집에도 텔레맙디기 제다 침디 디나미도 웨슬랍데 거기대로 데 파기 침들이 침디민디나로 보베시나 트로피넬로 데 주니 주수지 잡레 드루 등어가 임베라 나기 주디 저르티베라 파데 통일라 아니베 투이 아니보다 같이 때 남성이 지나로 같이 모습도 주디 카드미나 하고 모습도 뭐바 대림지기 날화베 침 사슴보다 파데 다른 같이 뒤민네 게일라
사kamtai 추타르미 해마 대단한 추디 좀 말하는 남도로베 카데베나 구데베나 미시베 ngaraji tarute ani chudi ki beta tamana no mati pap chap chime ramni de nu bevdi
Padtselling tiku kuting dangba nam jalan duke martor ndakan jo utukai gila chulila yudi danshile ina that ngaragi yudi danshile dele gewadi nubi gewai zonghadi tongsi zonghai la dele de nibeshin dalu dele de ngachi nagi de tampu ji tembe gesegi ngachi mandu sojib disle gaira sokche pandi gibi dele de ngachi disulu nebe zonula debe zogdalu tampu bawachin ngachi ra nagi de laluchigi papsi laluchigi lansi laluchigi nosi digibe dele de suhanebe pidoyemela dele de roji tembe gesegi ba nadigibe dele de ngachi nagi ditet nebe chidanula chishindalu dele kashonach dele de koragi suga pinegi chaina nadigibe special nebe zodigibe nebe zonula zozovi thama hibdalu dele darangachi nagi gopsedi kanyen traila gotsegi sendi gachi jumu sewachin doctor ji se juila te dinalu ngachi nalu te ngachi manale ngombe ngale nagi dis nebe show dele de jado sumbinalu papchi tangobela pap dilen to gibinalu papchi tangola lorigi nalu papni tangobela te nimitube sedi bete ngachi te ji deriya rimuche kutenga bailu te ngachi mangi si utaptigibe nga chachi ya bumdara thinsila rimuchi shur rimuchi gite na sodam na kalungalu na dele te dari kutenga bagi te ngachi nalu te de doctor zamedi te dari rimuchi kutenga badingila dele te na ngachi gi sikhadi karchugi rilebe phu sekana digibe te lorigi nalu khoragi disilu do sumenalu chachi karchugi be chopgi be bewi dilen do gibe nalu karchugi be digibe chopgi bewi
엄마 등이지야 속지방이 다르게 남디게 나 속지방 로켓지 소마섭지 왔어 야수 몰라 나 엄마 다르게 남디게 속지방 진 도준베나 밥 도제베나 밥지 도순베나 밥지 땅매로 나 들레다 남매 네베 밑접세다 속지방 나 뭐야 다 세다 짬베 취매라
마하 죽도 잠바쇼 필리케어쇼 뭐 아이송 장둥당 방스비리스 프라랑니 요라 링민탕 바르카당 니온 바르카 당미키와티니 잠바 필리케어 니딘 볼라 오니 길라 아이슈디 길라 니 오사단 잠바 필라보니 라마 톨레 슌타니 라마 뭐 패셀링 티고 쿠틴 당바 슌탄샤 단 필리케어 니딘 오니 디올라 용 친남니 쇼뭐 개갑 야르기당 둔타니 뭐 타니 짜잠 오사 잠바 오사 살잠 피어자 아이슈디 길라 Duktu Zamban religiyo shaya mo aha song chilba ke chwa gomani oma president ko duknang ni shukwa de ke president ko kutin dangbagi ani Duktu Zamba ani mingtak ke woni duknang ni shukwa de ke ro oma Zamba mingbo Duktu Zamba an ta nang ni lama gyo singma gyo la oni gila la
Sintimen yesin yang yun matago jinda tu sengor to budi. Sin lang sinki budi chelbu budi. Sin lang sin cha sin yo mera rote ko je mi tawa budi. Sin ko. Sin jugu sing ti ru bus paning sin jugu sin pigire. Jugu 누구 신디 진항 룹지 꾸에 능지나 꾸양 낭 신입에 제이 두디 노트미 따로 신이 군이 두 락라고 하는 제이 찬안나 신이 주디 니빛 당구 난디닝 베람다 제이 마이 타나 다르빈체 마이 티지파 신이 신나 슈지 어서 감부람 세인낭 무스퍼닝 친군 세부즈모미 친두 두티니 피지리 자가나 소이로 고스피킬라 굴링 치링 섬두 친세이 세이로 소이만도 유티티게지 수지 세이로 소피마 세양라마 세인낭 진짜 굴링 치링 섬두 보하양 건이 찬안 낭 무스퍼닝 진소로 마고스티 진만노스 노야 진주디가 본소로 찬안나고 난디니 준마토고 니 아이티 군이 마니 주디가 한거 줄라이가 따로 시고 줄라이가 파파는 템 두루 아그레 지마토 동사고 승리 따라이 차일 라마렌미 팀버지 진세 팀버지 신이 당포지 고낭 마랑 세디티는 못된 피석거래.
초면이 장포치네. 관차 축분이 된자, 축분이 진짜 보지 땜배지 진짜 보지. 요 꾸친 숭진 나다라. 땜배지 양비게라. 군당 틀리 강났다. 초라 왠지니 내부 초 군장 틀려야 림피기 나서 보지 군장 틀리다 따라 야이끼리 나를 타이베 웬 어나 시한타 오차로 숨기 어나 보지 랍시기 이거니 어나 쫓아서 다 꽃인 레베 웬 바실이 뚫고 꽃인 레베 보지 나로라 남 죽투포 남 질린줄 테 그러진도 저리도 친이 찜배지 친이 숨 친이 군장 틀리리 블레 바실이 뚫고 블레 월락스 못 보지 다 앙아 공마 좋아져 보지 군장 틀리 친가 준마 세심 저런 낭비게래 다 몰리기 좋아해 다 존질라 못 보다네 치마치니 이소 남단로 보지 남이 삼이 군처럼 오사이 군장 틀리래 참이니 먹고 같으니 꿀토네 아마 미미위라 록시 주누고 오버망한 못다네 꽃인 저에게 록시 못도 주누고 보지 남이 삼이 차 보이지시네 잘 보았다고 친이야 다 소남단로 보지 위냐나 만냐나니 나는 위냐나 만냐나니 nga 도지 적부티 가도 고만에 룩시 굿 준만에 적부티 가도 꼬나 준만에 친이 위노 타이보 보지 위니 다오 친이가 아무리모 타고 무리모 라야카야 무리모 테이 가도 준께도 아래 보지 세심처럼 됐대 서로 쫓기 저 남단들 친이 좀 무리모 진짜라야 일라마 친이 무리모 그냥 웬 준비길래요 땅남 그 땅바 땅내요 땅내 저희 무리모 제기 가져온 땅을 요 멀리로까지 잤어 치마 야비야나 꼰철이 너티 너미티 오나 옷에 도지 웬데라나 너미티 나기